Long before there were any spreadsheets or site plans, this neighborhood had a heartbeat. For generations, families built their homes here, their businesses, their whole community, only to watch it all get erased in the name of progress. We've seen deals fall through, competing proposals go nowhere, and hurricane seasons that just keep showing up hotter and harder every single year. So today, we're going to dig into a totally new way of thinking about building cities, and it all starts with one simple question. And that right there, that's the core of this whole thing. It really frames the central challenge, doesn't it? How do we stop focusing on these massive top-down projects and start looking at the real corner-by-corner needs of the people who actually live there? Especially now, with our climate changing so fast. To really get why this shift is so critical, we have to rewind a bit and look at the history of this place. The story of what was lost and all the promises that were broken, well, that's the essential backdrop for building a better future. So we're talking about the gas plant district, just west of downtown St. Pete. And this place wasn't just a location on a map. It was a living, breathing, majority Black community, just buzzing with churches, clubs, and small businesses. It had its own identity, its own soul. This timeline tells a story that is, sadly, pretty familiar across America. Back in the 70s and 80s, this idea of urban renewal basically meant building highways that cut right through the neighborhood. Hundreds of homes were bulldozed, families were displaced, and all these promises of new housing and opportunity, they just never really came true. Then, by the late 80s, 80 acres were cleared for a stadium, Tropicana Field, with the hope that a big league team would bring growth. But that growth, it just never happened the way it was sold, and a historic community was gone. Now let's fast forward to today. The problems have only gotten more complicated. We're talking multiple redevelopment deals that just collapsed, completely shattering public trust. You've got polluted waterways and huge parking lots where people's homes used to be. And now, the climate risk isn't just some abstract idea. A recent hurricane literally tore the roof off Tropicana Field. That was a huge wake-up call, forcing everyone to ask, how are we supposed to build for the world we live in now? So it all points to this fundamental shift that has to happen. You know the old way, right? It was led by developers, things happened behind closed doors, and community input was just a box you checked off at the very end, if at all. The new way? It flips that script completely. It starts with the community. It takes their lived experiences, their stories, their knowledge, and makes that the main ingredient for the design. And then, and this is the cool part, it uses tech like AI to quickly turn those ideas into real visuals that people can see and respond to. This big pivot, this new way of thinking, it all led to a really cool experiment in how we build our cities, something called a community design sprint. Get this, for one full day, they brought everybody together in the same room. We're talking residents, kids, small business owners, city officials, investors, developers, the whole shebang. And the mission was to take all that lived experience from the community and transform it into what they call decision-ready concepts, basically clear visual ideas that leaders can actually look at and act on. And this was the guiding light for the entire day. Every single conversation, every idea, it all came back to this one powerful question. It wasn't just about putting up buildings. It was about creating a future that was resilient, fair, and prosperous, all while respecting the past. Okay, so that sounds great, but how do you actually turn someone's personal story into a plan you can build from? Well, that's where this specific 5-step method comes into play. It's a 5-step playbook that really any city could use. First, you frame the challenge, get everyone on the same page. Second, you listen, really listen to people's stories and turn them into design briefs with clear goals. Third, and this is where the tech gets exciting, you use AI to rapidly prototype those ideas. So you take the words and you generate realistic images that people can give feedback on instantly. Fourth, you create a public scoreboard to track progress so there's real accountability. And finally, you turn those community-approved prototypes into actual policy language that can be put into action. So what did all this actually produce? Let's look at one of the visions that came out of it. This one was called A Quiet Revolution, and it's all about building a strong local economy from the inside out. The story here is that the real heroes aren't some distant investors. They're the local barista who composts for the community garden, the mechanic who teaches kids how to fix bikes, the baker who shares freezer space. So the big idea is an investment cooperative, basically a way for local people to pool their own money to fund projects they actually want. Their dollars become votes, and those votes create things like shaded plazas, storm-ready markets, and public art. It's development that's funded and owned by the community itself. Now, the second story is this really moving vision of what resilience looks like in the face of climate change. It's all centered on the recovery of a local landmark after a huge storm. I want you to just imagine walking along the Booker Creek Promenade, maybe 2 months after a Category 5 hurricane has ripped through. Instead of just seeing wreckage, you find a heartbeat. You hear birds, a saxophone practicing somewhere, not just traffic and sirens. The shops are small, they're stubborn, and they're local. And the feeling isn't that everything is perfect, but that this place just refuses to be broken. It proves that recovery is a choice to plant a tree, to shop local, and to rebuild joy together. So you see, these aren't just feel-good stories. They are the foundation of a brand new civic playbook, a guide that's designed to take communities from just staring at shiny pictures to seeing real results that actually reflect what they care about. And the model itself is pretty revolutionary. Think about it like this. AI is the civic infrastructure. It's the tool that makes all this rapid, responsive planning possible. But the community's voice? That's the operating system. It's what runs the whole show. It ensures every single decision, from where you put a park bench because an elder said they need a place to rest, to how you design a storm-proof building, is grounded in what real people actually need. And what's great is that this approach has real value for everyone. For builders and financiers, it actually lowers their risk because they get clear concepts that already have community support. For city leaders, it builds trust because the process is transparent and you can measure the results. For tech teams, it's a clean way to turn stories into data. And, most importantly, for the residents and business owners, it means their voices lead directly to real changes they can see and feel in their neighborhood. All of this brings us to the final and most important question. What's it going to take to make this the new normal? And the ask here is actually pretty straightforward. Cities can adopt this playbook, organizations can sponsor a pilot project in their own backyard, experts can share their data or teach this method to others, and all of us, we can choose to invest locally to strengthen the very foundation of our own communities. Because in the end, it really all comes back to this. This whole process proves that we have the tools, we have the ability to design our cities for people first. And this isn't some dream for 20 years down the road. It's a playbook we can use to start building a better future, right on the next corner, starting tomorrow.